I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. He's a chemist. And we got into the science discussion and expanded into, very briefly, the broken cosmology that's sold to us and all the other lies that are connected to the political scene, the education system, history. And as that discussion, this is with other people around too, as that discussion started to expand, you could see the sort of blind, adamant defending of something that, like, the education system defends their so-called facts that are based on theories. The people do this inherently from an even less stable foundation to explain things from. But when you have people who go to school for sciences and they have their degrees, they have their confirmation from the man that they are something, it's harder for them to accept or even entertain the idea of what they've been trained, conditioned, manipulated to believe for so long can be based in falsehood, could be a lie. But yet these same people a lot of the times are aware of the system lying to them. They're aware of false flags. They're aware of the corruption in the education system, in the government, in the food industry, in the justice department, around the world. They're aware of why things are the way they are to a certain degree. This is why I say it's dangerous to have people only being aware of a certain fraction of core issues, because the gap in between the rest of that information allows for the ego to start to defend systems that are actually working against you. This happens when I go into the depths of what needs to be done in reference to years and years of indoctrination through racism and supremacy. That doesn't go away just because people are tired of it or people just get over it. Sometimes it will never go away. Like if a child was kidnapped and indoctrinated by their kidnappers for years and years, decades of their lives, the Stockholm syndrome that sets in, all of the beliefs that they have consumed from these criminals for their entire lives, more time than they had before they were stolen. Everything that they believe, everything that they've experienced in life has been reversed and flipped upside down and sold back to them in a way that works against them. Their entire psyche has been reset. This has happened to masses of people for generations. That same concept has happened in many different ways with the system of racism and white supremacy for generations of people. So much so that the families are now selling these ideas, these sicknesses and diseases to the next generations as if they're a positive, selling the idea that the lighter skins are better than the darker skins in their own family, showing favoritism, straightening their hair, praying to a god that looks like their local politician, their teachers in their public education system, by design, breaking them down on the soul, mind, and body level through this mind control. And people just poo-poo it and dismiss it away and actually talk shit, come down on the people who are expanding upon this disease that needs to be addressed fully. They're doing that because they don't know the depths of why things are the way they are. So to think that stuff just goes away is absurd. To think that it's a non-issue to address something like racism just because the system is using it to further divide us. Of course they're going to use racism because they know it works. Why would you go away from something that you've been using for hundreds of years? You think they would just leave that tool against the people? They would just leave it alone, let it just dissipate away and let people just heal themselves? No, they're going to use that, expand upon it, and manipulate the way that system interacts with the people to further their systems on into the future. And if people are talking about going to the depths of healing that program within the people, do you not think that they will have people going against those people? Of course they will, because that's a threat. It's a threat against the tools that are used to enslave the people on every level. So whether it's paid bots or paid trolls that are doing it online, or mind controlled people in real life who are doing it in person and online, doesn't matter, because it all has the same effect. It all does the same thing. And this same thing is the same thing that the system does overall. It's designed to have that effect. It's designed to have both people paid to do certain things within these systems, within the justice system, within the education system, within your entertainment system, within your political system. There are both people doing it mindfully, they're aware of why they're doing it, and there are people doing it unconsciously. They're protecting a system that works against them, that works against their people, that works against the generations of people. And just the idea of having a people is a threat to this system. This is why they push that we're all one, we all need to come together. Under what? Under what belief system are you talking about? To what end should we come together? What are our goals? What are we trying to do here? This is why I'm saying it's so important to establish yourself in deep roots, because the people that are in that shallow root program are pushing hard to promote this come together space, because that's the only thing that they have to hold on to. Because either they haven't done the work to go any deeper, or they're paid to stay shallow. Because if you stay shallow and you keep people shallow, your movements will move forward to a certain degree, and then they will fail, or the people will give up, which is the same thing. And all of that is a benefit to the system that is meant to control. So they will amplify, they will push these systems. They will push a Black Lives Matter movement because they know that it's powerless, it's empty. Not even going into the fact that it's all bought and paid for by the Democratic Party. Not even dealing with that. Just the overall atmosphere of mattering. Mattering to who? It's not an empowered space. It's a victimized space. And not even a victimized space from a place of reality. Why would you need to matter to criminals who don't see you as more than animals anyway? They've never seen you as human. Our story matters, but are they going to the depths of our story? No. Their matters are dealing with the political scene. And those are the systems that are working against us. So that program is actually putting more energy into the system that works against the people it's claiming to be for. This happens individually, as well as in these movements. Your New Age community is littered with these mindsets, these smaller groups of people, and the overall bigger group that is the New Age thought process. Asking for change, asking to come together. They're asking for the New World government. They're asking for the governments of the world to come together as one human race, and control everything. This is what the whole space program is founded on. Selling fear. We could be destroyed by a comet, by an asteroid. The sun could explode. Mass famine. The grid could go down. An alien race could come and take us over. The climate will change and we'll be flooded out forever. There could be some coronal mass ejection that shoots solar radiation to us and fries everybody on Earth. There's super volcanoes that are underground that are boiling. They're going to explode. There could be nuclear war. These scientists and these politicians work hand in hand to push this fear, because the programs that they work for, they get funding from the fear. That funding is nothing more than, like, corporations have people going to politicians, convincing them, paying them to push certain legislature that benefits their companies. The fear is the currency used to manipulate political action, to put funding into these programs that benefit these corporations, these systems. And the people are so misinformed or uninformed about the depths of these systems, and informed only up to a certain degree, a degree that allows the system to be voted upon to move forward. So none of these systems are for your benefit. They never were. Why do you think the system adamantly ignores something like colonialism? That's at the core of their history, of their power, their control. Where do you think they got all this land and resources? Did it just materialize out of the sky? No, it was stolen by force, using everything from biological warfare to actual warfare, murder, genocide. They've written the bad things like that out of history and celebrate the so-called good things. This is why they have to push so hard stuff like Christmas, feel good, happy joy holidays. They went so far as to even celebrate people like Christopher Columbus Day, Thanksgiving Day. Blatant lies in your face, hidden under the guise of, coming together. Oh, you can't talk about Thanksgiving. People are so fully vested into it, they don't even want to go to the depths of the lies of why things are the way they are. The 4th of July. All of these based in ideals, belief systems, shallow, that don't go into the depths. They won't talk about colonialism. They won't talk about genocide. They won't talk about crimes committed by this system. This is like a kidnapper making holidays in the time after they kidnap these children, as if they didn't kidnap them. You think they're going to talk about the crime of kidnapping the kids? No, they have to further indoctrinate them. They have to maintain that Stockholm syndrome. This is what all these systems and these holidays are. So when you talk directly to people, that stuff works unconsciously, and they will defend this system. Usually when I get these discussions, I don't even allow them to go any further, because I just blatantly ask people, like, what are you protecting? What are your goals? If you want to talk about this system, if you want to talk about the way things are, you're clearly defending an ideal, a system. For what purpose? What are your goals? I have clearly my goals. I state my goals every time. We have to go to the depths, and that involves uprooting the entire system. And that's when you get the, or you'll get people who fakely agree with you. Yeah, I guess we do have to deal with the entire, but they don't know what you're talking about. They don't know. They just want you to shut up. That's just another way of telling you to shut up, to fakely agree with you. Because as soon as they say that, we do have to address the entire system, here comes the but. But, we have to do this and that. So that's just dismissing you. They're agreeing with you to dismiss you right after that. If they have a but, they're not interested in what you have to say. They're not interested in where you're coming from. They're only interested in defending their belief systems based on theories or emotions. Just like holidays are defended because of the emotional energy, the time spent from other people over generations, the time spent investing into each other. It's focused on that. They're like, you want to get rid of this? Like, people aren't saying, don't be happy, don't celebrate anything. The system has their tentacles so deeply in these people that they can't even entertain the idea of acting, of doing anything outside of having a reason for it, approved by the system, coming together, celebrating, whatever it is. You have to have a reason, a holiday. Oh, why are you doing this? Oh, basically saying, has the state approved your celebration? What reasoning has the state given you? Has the government given you a valid reason for celebrating? If they haven't, then it doesn't matter. Have the corporations approved your party for this weekend? This is the sole reason why I share the information from the perspectives that I do on this channel, is to expand this conversation. Because if people are moving, the system wants you to move before you empower yourself, before you get all the information, because they can fill in the blanks of your awareness with more mind control, with more systems that are going to work against you either now or in the future, or going to destabilize your movements now. And since people haven't been moving, people have been stagnant for so long, any kind of movement will not only be immediately accepted, but it will be defended. People will defend these movements. People are defending Black Lives Matter, not even being aware. that it's run by this system. And some people are even aware that it's run by the system and will still defend it. The same way somebody will say, yeah, I agree with you that the whole system needs to be addressed. And then add that, but, we have to, it's the same thing. They can't let it go. They're too fully invested in it. The main thing is, largely, it's not only being fully invested in it, the other percentage of it is being codependent upon it. So people who have big families, people who are paid a lot, people who have their egos, who are inflamed from being successful within this system, they can't let it go. They'll set up programs under the guise of the betterment of everybody else to make you successful within the system, just like they have been, to validate their success within that system. So they will maintain their enslavement by expanding the systems within the overall system. And that maintenance, that success within there will keep them from entertaining ideas that challenge the entire system. So those systems will keep people away from people who are addressing the entire system. And the defense is to even dismiss and downplay people who address the entire system. And it's not shocking to me anymore because I see this as a psychological condition. It's a condition to protect this system. And when you have people dealing with these conditions, these diseases, it's like something that they can't, it's out of their control. It's not something that they're even aware of. So that's why I say a lot of the times, most of the times, it's not even worth entertaining the back and forth, the debates, the arguments, especially the arguments. Won't go there at all. But I don't even have the energy to even entertain debates. I saw another debate just recently between a flat earther and a globe earther. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what? And then I tuned into it and saw the same thing. Somebody saying, it's the shape of a sphere. It doesn't have to be a perfect sphere. It's like almost like an egg, like a womb shape, like the shape of a pregnant woman. And it doesn't have to be completely spherical. It's more like a oval. Anything in the shape of an oval. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you're talking about a sphere, and then somebody said, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, why even entertain somebody who's going to bring some shit up like that? They have no legs to stand on. That's why I said it's like beating up on special needs kids. What are you doing? The information is available. It's only going to be received by people who are ready to receive that information. You already have proven the lies of heliocentrism, of the education system. I don't understand the needing to display, show off how you're intellectually beating up people who are just unaware of information. A lot of these people are very intelligent. They just aren't aware of the information, and they won't be aware of the information until they are ready themselves. Can you change other people? No, you can't. People are only going to change when they're ready to change. They start to celebrate themselves. That's what these debates are, celebrations of themselves. Because these same people are aware that you're forever going to be learning. You're forever going to be knowing something else. There's always something to work on. And when you sit yourself and anchor yourself supposedly in the front lines of flat earth versus heliocentrics, you're just inflaming your ego. And if you're inflaming your ego in public, that's why I said it's more counterproductive than productive. It works more against you and the masses of people than for you. Because all those people are just going to do the same thing. Or at least the larger percentage of those people are going to do the same thing on a person-to-person basis. They're going to get involved in these debates with these people, and it's only going to go so far when the entire system can be being addressed by these intellects, by these people who are aware of this information on a public level, on YouTube. The idea of flat earth or the not heliocentric universe has been going on. I've been personally speaking about this information for going on 7 years now. 7 years. And the only thing that they've done is changed the people they've been debating with. Still saying the same things over and over and over again. Never connecting the dots of all these other systems. Never expanding into the other mind controls that all are a part of this mind control. Being aware of every system that's out there that's broken and fucked up. You know your education system is based on conformity, is based on time stealing, is based on family and culture breaking, indoctrination, and lies. People are aware of this. How much time and information could be expanded into just that? Why are there no debates on that? The system itself. Instead of debating the lies within the system, debate the fact that the system lies, period. So what are you going to do after that? Your education system is designed to make you dumb, to make your children, your future generations dumb and indoctrinated. Your cosmology police are getting paid 65 or something like that, $1 million a day to lie to you about the way the universe is. They're backed by the education system. NASA's even involved with weather manipulation. And look at the weather manipulation that was used as a weapon. Look at Katrina, Hurricane Katrina. All the shit that was going down with that disaster. $65 million a day. How much could you do with $65 million a day? With all the people starving and in poverty. Tax money. $65 million a day of tax money going to programs that lie to you on a daily basis. Every day, they could put $65 million into one little community. And then the next day, put it into another community. And here we are having other groups of people even talking about reparations. The time and energy that went into building up these systems, building these programs, building this government, the people who actually put in the work are dismissed. This is why I say when you focus on little information like tiny little debates about flat versus globe, instead of the system itself, you're dismissing the people of that system. You're dismissing the storyline of the people who were used and abused that built up that system. So when channels like mine are talking about racism, the core, the origin, and connecting it to all the other mind controls, we're not talking about racism. We're talking about why racism was used, how it was used, and what it was connected to, the larger systems of control. But small-minded people have to say, well, you're talking about racism. It's not about racism. No, we're talking about the system of mind control. And this is just another system that was within that system of mind control. And this is a system that is not being addressed. In fact, it's being dismissed by people who are saying that you're just racist. You're doing reverse racism. And even beyond that, like I said, I've been interacting with the so-called flat earth community for almost 7 years now. And even those people are dismissing this perspective, are dismissing this work, are dismissing why we need to go deeper and involve and address all of the other systems of mind control and how they're connected. They're saying that you're taking away, that you're distracting people from flat earth. This is the argument that was made 7 years ago when I was bringing all this information up back then directly within the flat earth community. You're distracting people from the flat earth movement by talking about racism. No, asshole, I'm talking about mind control. You're talking about some little funky ass little movement as if it's going to do something. Like a Black Lives Matter movement, a civil rights movement. These things are just going to be infiltrated by the overall system. If you don't address the system, they will fuck you up because your small ass approach. The only thing is that people can make money off of those small approaches individually. As long as they don't go any further, they have to separate themselves from the bigger storyline and focus only on their perspective. That's the only way that they can be promoted by this system. This is why these YouTube channels get promoted. trending because they're designed to distract you, dismiss your information, and maintain a small-minded approach. They don't want you talking about how all of these systems are connected. They don't want you talking about how the education system is connected to the cosmology, the NASA systems. They don't want you talking about how the FDA is connected to the Federal Reserve, how this Federal Reserve is a private corporate entity that prints monopoly money and lies to the people. And your FDA approves these programs and these foods that make you sick, that make you obese, and promote your dying sooner so they can make money off your birth certificate. They don't want to talk about how the mainstream media and Hollywood industry is designed to lie, divide, make you sick, protect the system, make you hate yourself. Your doctors and your scientists make money off of you being sick. They're all bought off by the pharmaceutical companies. So a system that's supposed to help you, that's promoted to heal you, is actually designed at the core, at the roots, to further, on a mass scale, sickness and disease because they make a profit off of it. Your pharmaceutical company is connected to all of these programs pushed by a pandemic, these scamdemics that are out there making a profit, putting money in the pockets of these politicians who are making money off of the medical industries, knowing that they're going to get bigger, putting money in the stock options. It's people following the stock movements that these politicians are making because they know that they're getting ready to approve some kind of thing that these pharmaceutical companies are going to profit off of. Your FBI sets up false flags and assassinates your own leaders, destroys your movements to make changes, and even creates fake groups to instigate. There was this new fake group, this new Republican Proud Boys sort of group that was running around with uniforms and shields and shit I just saw recently. Like a bunch of Captain America assholes running around. And I think it was either Joe Rogan. I think it was like Joe Rogan was like making fun of them, talking about how they look like the FBI. The FBI runs these programs. It's a joke. Like people, fucking comedians like Joe Rogan make a joke out of this shit. It's a joke that your FBI runs programs that run against you, that work against you. It's not new. They're still doing this shit today. And it's joked about. If they're doing this shit today, what the fuck were they doing in the civil rights time frame? What were they doing when they created the FBI? Why did they do this? They have to create these problems. They created a system to create problems, to maintain their relevance, to maintain their power. If they don't have anything to fight against, then why are they there? So they have to have something to fight against. This is why they create these groups, these movements, to create problems. The CIA does it on an international scale. They destabilize entire nations. They assassinate leaders and presidents from other nations that threaten the movements that are made by these superpowers. They take out people like Gaddafi, Chavez, people who are going to unify in other nations, on whole other continents. They take them out because their land and their resources, what they're getting ready to do with that is a threat to the power, the profit margin of these superpowers. That's why I ask, what are you protecting? This is why they don't go into how colonialism exists and how today's systems are no different than the mindset of colonialism. And people don't want to go into colonialism because colonialism is largely based upon racism, as if today isn't. People are stuck in this Darwinian evolution mind control thinking that, oh yeah, things are changing. Why? Just because they're not blatantly lynching and burning our people? They're doing it in more slick underground ways? You're buying into that system. So your FBI does it in-house, your CIA does it internationally, and your politicians are all bought and paid for. They're bought and paid by the corporations, private interests. Your vote doesn't matter. It's like fascism on crack. They tell people who joke about fascism, yeah, it's an understood fact that this is a fascist run system. But the further truth is that it's like fascism on crack. It's an out of control fascism. It's even worse because the people are believing that the system is okay, that it's for them, thinking that their vote matters, as if they're not controlling the voting system, as if they're not putting these presidents in there, installing them, as if they're not controlling the voting booths. That's why I ask these people, what are you protecting? What are you defending? Largely, people are defending this comfort system because they're scared of what's going to happen when you fully address it. So they're okay. Like I said before, it's the people on the top tier who are not going to let you address the entire system because it's going to affect their creature comforts. So they are okay with you living in poverty. The top tier does it to the middle tier, and the middle tier does it to the lower tier. The middle class is not going to allow the lower class to address the reasons why, the core reasons why there is poverty, why there is starvation, why these programs are designed to keep them in that state of poverty. The middle class isn't going to address that. They'll support programs that make it look like they're addressing that, but they won't support programs that are literally addressing that system. And the higher tier class systems, they're not going to do that either. They're especially not going to do that. They have to maintain their step above the middle class. And if you start addressing all of these systems, those tiers of separation will start to dissipate, collapse. So they create these fake movements to make it seem like they're working with you. Put these Hollywood celebrities out there singing stupid ass Beatles songs.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
Like they give a fuck about you. And people just eat it up. Ooh, oh, I love them. They're just so good-hearted people. Following them because they're attractive. Using their sexual attractiveness to sell mind control. And people are just like, oh, I just love this nation. We truly are the best nation in the world. So you got your education system, you got your university system, you got your FDA, you got your Federal Reserve, you got your mainstream media, you got your doctors making money through the pharmaceutical companies, you got your FBI, you got your CIA, you got your politicians, both national politicians and local politicians. They're all doing the same thing on different levels, local, state, national. They're all controlled by the upper echelon, the higher tiers of control, of mind control. Your police officers on a local level do more killing than they cause more fucking problems than they do any good. Your Justice Department is designed to protect itself, protect the interests of the entire system. It's designed to only go so far, just like the people. Just as your politicians in the system will never allow itself to empower the people or allow the people to empower themselves enough to lead themselves and make the system irrelevant, the Justice Department will never hold itself accountable for crimes its system was responsible for. So your politicians are not going to empower you out of them being able to control you. They won't even allow you to empower yourself out of their control. The Justice Department does the same thing. The Justice Department won't hold itself accountable for crimes nationally and internationally that it's responsible for. It'll never acknowledge the depths of stealing land and stealing resources from the indigenous people through colonialism, through enslavement, the mind control. It won't acknowledge, the Justice Department won't hold itself accountable for international crimes. It won't shed a light on that. It will hide all of that. That's why I ask people, what are you protecting? None of these systems, these very crucial issues at the core of why things are the way they are, will be addressed by the system, because the system profits off of these problems. They're not going to bring down a system that brings in their profit. With all of these programs going on, I ask you, and I ask people individually all the time, what are you protecting? Come together around what? We're human. We're all human. Okay. What does that mean? People hide behind these abstract versions of forward progress all the time. They hide behind their individual approach. Oh, I only talk about this stuff. And that's what gets me every time. Because these same people, these so-called truthers and these so-called new agers and these so-called critical and forward thinkers, they are aware of all these systems and how they are working together. Yet they dismiss people who address the entire system, and they themselves will not go into how all these systems are connected or even have discussions on what needs to be done in this situation. People are too fat and happy and comfortable in this shit. They're in love with their enslavement. In reference to the Justice Department protecting itself, I'll share a personal story I don't really go into at all on this channel. I shared briefly like how difficult and how fucked up it was having to experience this situation back when it was actually happening. But my brother, my little brother, 6 years younger than me, was killed by some dude who was trying to take his camera because he was working on, of all things, he was working on a mural. He was a muralist. He was an artist. He was working on a peace mural under the freeway in Oakland. And this guy who is a known criminal, he has a whole history, walks up and sees my brother with his camera and tries to steal his camera, pulls out a gun and shoots him and killed my brother. And he ran and was caught a few days later, arrested and brought up on criminal charges, thrown in jail for 25 to life. My brother was only 27 when he was killed. But the gun that was used that this criminal had was a federal weapon. It was stolen out of an ICE agent's vehicle in San Francisco. This agent, this federal agent, just left it in his back seat, and it was stolen and worked its way through the system into the hands of this dude who shot my brother. And I wasn't aware of this until this happened, but apparently federally connected weapons make their way into the hands of everyday criminals every day. Something like 400 and something weapons go missing and make their way into the streets. This is on top of all the guns that are literally pushed into the streets. But 400 and something actual weapons go missing every year and make their way into the hands of people. That's more than one a day. And crimes are committed with these weapons. And when you take these crimes to the so-called justice system, the justice system throws these cases out every single time. This is what happened to my brother's case. The criminal case is separate from this federal case. The guy who committed the crime is in jail, but the weapon used, the system connected to that weapon being on the streets, is responsible for that weapon being on the streets. But like I said, this system will not hold itself accountable. They will manipulate the system. So the judges won't allow this to go any further. This is what's happening now. We just found this out within the last few days. Our lawyers are not going to push the case any further because other cases like this, other cases that were looking to hold this system accountable for allowing these weapons to be on the streets, the so-called Justice Department won't do it. They won't allow it. So where's the justice in that? 400 and something weapons are going onto the street. Crimes committed by people, by criminals, where these weapons are fed into these criminals' hands by the system, and the system gets away with it every time. Who holds them accountable? Where's your people power there? Where's your justice system there? Go down the laundry list of all these systems I just listed off and the ones that I missed. Find the ones that are for you, ever for you. From the education system to your healthcare system to your so-called justice system and everything in between, they're used to work against you, and they will never hold themselves accountable. So if you're defending these systems, you're part of the problem.